I believe I can fly. I believe I can stab your eye. Hello everybody, and welcome back to some more FTB Skies. So, in between episodes, I have been working very hard to get all of the Terra Steel, and finally, we reached the final moments of being able to get it all. I filled this thing almost all the way up, and that should be far more than enough to be able to make me these final ones that I need. There we go. Cool. So now with all 32 in my pocket, I can go ahead and then turn this thing in, and then with this, we now have ourselves the everlasting mana pool, which means all this mana in here can all just go. Oh gosh, I lagged. Nope. Okay, well, it looks like everything's fine. All that mana in there can just go away. We don't need it anymore because we have ourselves infinite mana. So then, with infinite mana, we can go ahead and then break down these pylons and then put these sparks right over here. And then if we put ourselves these dominant sparks right into here, the everlasting mana pool will send it all the mana it's going to need until it's instantly filled up. Look at how fast that's going! And this thing doesn't drain because it's freaking creative power. And the best part is if I were to take these 2 mana tablets and then switch this thing over to this side, let's throw that in there and then watch as it just, fills up all the way, not taking a single drop of mana. Everything's gonna be okay. I don't even really need to do this, but I will anyways. And then with this, we basically essentially filled up 4 mana pools, because each one of these holds exactly the same amount as a mana pool with just this one thing right here. From here on out, there's going to be quite a few things that are going to require massive amounts of mana, such as making 16 Gaia Spirit ingots, and then this one over here, which is Gaia Steel. All of these things are going to take a crap ton of mana, and that's also not including all of the runes I'm going to have to make. There was a very good reason we have all this mana. We can also go ahead and then collect these things, which are the creative pastes, and end crystals. Oh, does the game want me to fight the Ender Dragon again? Yeah, that's probably why they have this one down here, too. Well, I'll save that for a later date. I also got this creative paste controller, which is from Building Gadgets. I honestly have no idea what this thing is supposed to do. I don't know how to work Building Gadgets. I never really was able to figure that out. So, I mean, we have it, but it isn't really that useful. So we can go ahead and put it with the other creative items. Now, I will make use of this everlasting mana pool later on, but for right now, we're going to leave it lie, because we are going to complete the rest of these achievements today, because at the end of this one of the rewards we get is Creative Flight. The Creative Flight I currently has a range. The one from the Ability Totem does not. And I have been trying to get the Ability Totem from my mob farm for quite some time, and I honestly still wasn't able to get it. It would have been hilarious if it was actually in here now, but it was not. That is rather unfortunate. So then let's just start with the ones that we don't have in here, because I was already able to do all the mechanism ones. So inside of here, we're going to need 64 crystallized amber, squid ink pasta, that's a JoJo reference, vegetable noodles, roast chicken, and flawless budding Certus quartz. Now, the budding Certus quartz is actually very interesting. So in order to get it, we need flawed budding Certus quartz. Unfortunately, though, what this does mean is that I'm going to need to make a lot of the Certus quartz as well as a lot of the charged Certus quartz. So, yep, give me like 10 years.
5 minutes later.
Alrighty, so how this actually works is you throw the thing in question into the water, and then you throw another thing of question into the water, and they're supposed to interact with each other. But I think they might be a little bit too far apart from each other for that to work. So let's try throwing it up against kind of a wall point of it, so that way it doesn't like move as much. So we put those two together. I'm not sure if this will work when they're a slab though. Oh, it does, and there we go. Now we have ourselves the damaged budding one. And I actually made enough for this to work out with all of them. So, oh, okay, I'm picking up a lot of stuff.
You get the idea.
Alrighty, and here we go. Now we've got ourselves all of the flawed budding one, or the flawless ones, actually. I actually made a couple extra Certus quartz, more than I actually needed, so that's fine. Either way, though, now we've got ourselves all of those ones well and done. So then we're just going to need to make ourselves the pastas and the chickens. Now these things are basically a similar recipe towards each other with the vegetable noodles versus the ink squid. It's just that it has like a few extra things that are different. So like with pasta, we just need to take dough, which isn't that hard to get at all. We just need like wheat and some buckets, and I got all that done. And then ourselves a cutting table, which I also have somewhere. All right, over here. So yeah, I pretty much have all the ingredients for all these things, so I just need to go ahead and grab those. All right, so we got everything for these. So I just need to make sure that I throw these in the correct order. So we got squid ink, then we can throw in a bowl, and then I need fish, tomato, pasta, and that should be it. Yeah, I think it is, because it is working. So unless, yep, there we go, I got it. So then I can just go ahead and then throw the rest of this crap in here, and then we can go ahead and get ourselves probably a noodles I wouldn't eat, because I'm not a huge fan of... Huh? Wait a minute, why did it give me mixed salad when I don't... That's not even a recipe that's in here. You can't use this for that. Okay, here we go. Now it worked. For some reason it didn't work before. It gave me a mixed salad, but that's not even something that you can use this with. Like with these things, it actually shows the recipe for mixing, but in here you can't. So, I don't know why this did this. That's pretty weird. And then the chicken's the easiest one of all, because I already have everything. It just takes, you know, eggs, onions, carrots, chicken, obviously, and potatoes.
Boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew.
And with all that, we get ourselves some roasted chicken. There we go. So, with all of these things in our arsenal, I forgot that I put my book away. I never put my book away. It feels so weird. We can put all that stuff in it together, and we got ourselves almost all those achievements done. But there is still this one that is a matter of things, which is 64 crystallized amber. Now, this one isn't as hard as it might seem, because since I need a whole stack of it, I'm only going to need half a stack of fire charges, blocks of redstone, and gold. But then I'm also going to need the liquid magma, which is just all of this stuff right here, which isn't really that hard to get. Especially now that I don't need blaze powder anymore, hallelujah! So yeah, let me just grab all of this stuff real quick and I will show you all how it works.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
Alrighty, so how this first is going to work is we throw these magma blocks into this thing called the melting chamber, and that'll melt it all down into liquid magma, also known as lava. But for some reason it decided to just make like a whole separate thing for liquid magma. I have no idea why. So then we can just take out these things right here, and then I'm going to need to find where's my configuration tool? Alrighty, I guess I lost my configurator. I have no idea what the heck happened. I looked all over for it and I couldn't find the darn thing. Either way, I guess I can just go ahead and then use this to transfer all the magma, and there we go. Now this thing is going to be full of liquid magma. So then we just throw in all of these things and it'll start to create the crystallized amber. I don't know how much it makes. Okay, it makes 2, right? No, I meant to say I don't know how long it takes, but I don't know how much of the magma it's going to take. So, yeah, now I just need to wait for all this to be done, which means we all know that this joke is coming. Alrighty, and now we've got all this. Now, there is another thing later on that will also need 64 of these things, and it's pretty much just all the same process, just different ingredients. So I'll definitely be doing that one off screen whenever the time comes for that one. But for right now, you know the process. So now we've got all of that, and with that, we have ourselves a creative motor. And this thing is kind of interesting in the fact that it's just interesting. So what it is it works for the create mod, but what it does is you put it here, and I actually don't want it facing that way because I want it like facing another direction. There we go. So that way I can see this. So basically what you can do is you can just put this thing as high as you want, and it just doesn't matter at all. It's basically just a free source of rotational force, and quite frankly, I don't know where I can put it to where it wouldn't break everything. So let's see. What direction does this actually turn in if I turn it upwards? Because you can actually adjust where it turns by the way you go. So like, yeah, right now it's going to the left because I have it going this way. But if I turn it down into the negatives, it'll end up going the opposite way. I guess then since these are going to the left, I should... No! No. Oh, I saved that. Oh my gosh. Okay, so then I need some blocks before I try to mess with this. Imagine if I still had slow falling. Oh gosh, that would have been so horrible. Because then I wouldn't have been able to catch it. Oh my gosh, I am so glad I decided to nix that. Okay, so since it didn't work on that one, maybe it'll work on this one. Yes, it does. Okay then, so since this kind of connects to the whole network, let's see how high I can go ahead and put this before it starts to break. Things start breaking. Oh, okay, I think I understand. So this thing itself won't necessarily break, but things around it will. That is actually a huge problem, because we needed that thing to be there so that way it could spin, so that way that would work. So then we need this thing to be at a much lower level to where this wasn't as big of a problem. I mean, in all honesty, it really doesn't matter since, you know, this whole thing is pretty much just good on its own. I really won't be doing that much create anyways, so yeah, that whole thing's fine. Oh yeah, also I forgot to mention, I set up this whole thing right here where I use the Ender Dragon prediction instead, and actually this pays off incredibly because I needed this thing right here so that way I could get all of these ones that I'm going to need, and I only am actually going to need about a stack of it, so yeah, that's actually not a huge problem at all. And then after that, I'm just going to start throwing in those Ender Dragon predictions into here so that way I can get a whole thing. So yeah, that's not a bad thing at all. So yeah, that's why I switched out the Wither one with the Ender Dragon one. By the way though, now that we've gotten that one, the next one we have is this one right here. And the only one in this one that I'm going to be able to do on screen is this thing for the Luminium, which basically it just takes 10 silver glowstone and then the fire charge for 4 of them, and I need 64 of them, so it's really not that big of a deal. But then this thing here, which is the Arcane Sands, is basically kind of like one of the things I had earlier on, which was this Luminous Crystal, where I'm going to have to go on like a scavenger hunt for all sorts of things. So I'm going to have to do all that off screen. And I'm actually going to pretty much do the same thing for these runes over here, because I've already made them on screen before. So now we got all these things, so we can just go ahead and mass craft! And yep, there we go, we got ourselves the Luminium. How do you pronounce that? Oh, it's Lumium! Why was I saying, why did I put an N in there? Oh my goodness gracious. Okay, so now that we've got that, the next thing we're going to need is this thing called the Infused Hex Shelf. And in order to get that, we need another Hex Shelf. And this is actually fairly easy to get. All I'm really going to need is a bookshelf, a potion of regeneration, which also isn't hard to get, and then some nether bricks. So I just need to gather up all that, and then I can go ahead and then just click this thing right here, and there we go. We got ourselves the hex shelf. And now, to make the infused hex shelf, it's actually very easy. Why is there a pigman here? Why are you... No. You do not go into my house, good sir. Goodbye. Anyway, as I was trying to say, how I get this into the infused one is I just need to enchant this. At least it should be.
20 minutes later.
Here we go. Now I've got the infusion. Okay. Yeah, that took a lot more than it needed to. I had to completely rework my whole enchanting setup just to get a whole bunch of the stuff that I needed, because apparently these things mattered for some reason. Oh my freaking goodness. But now, after a long process, which you will all not see, we now have the hell shelf thrown into there. So then after that, we'll have to have visited another sky village, which I have, and then we're also going to need to make the Supreme Machine Frame. And this one's actually fairly simple to get, and this is one of the reasons why I needed some ether gas, but I'm also going to need to grab the other machine frames. Alrighty, I got the proper machine frame, so now I can go ahead and then grab the rest of this stuff, but I actually need to grab myself some 2 netherite. Cool. So then I can go ahead and just pick up the rest of this stuff, and there we go. Now I should have everything I'm going to need. So now all we gotta do is put this thing right here. This holds the ether gas, and then I can just go ahead and extract all of that and throw that into there, and then I can just throw in the rest of this stuff as I need it. So now we have all of this together, and it then begins to coalesce and create something oh so beautiful. With all these things together, we get ourselves the Supreme Machine Frame. There we go. And then I can go ahead and then use this one for the export if it didn't click. Okay, it didn't click, so then it should just start pulling all the stuff back out into here. And there we go. So now I just need to go ahead and submit that one, and now that one is completely done. Okay, so now then, all that's left to do is to get these arcane sands, which I can get either from any of these epic things inside the salvaging table, or finding them, and then I'm also going to need all of these runes, which I've already made in the past. I'm gonna go do all that real quick, and then we get in flight. After a long and arduous journey, I have the rest of it. And with that, all the tasks are completed, which means finally, I have myself my creative flight. So firstly, what we need to do is we need to turn this thing off. We need to get rid of that. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to still have flight, even though this whole thing is going to be gone, because I did kind of break it. So let's actually break the whole darn thing, and yes, I indeed can still fly, because my thing ended up breaking. Because for some reason, whenever I go into this thing, when that thing was running, I would still be able to fly permanently. So now I'm going to have to go out of the server and go back in. Alrighty, now just to make sure, yes, I indeed can no longer fly. Alrighty then, so now with this, it takes 150 XP. I should now be able to permanently fly without restrictions. Oh my goodness. I've been trying to get this ever since I got this mob farm, and I wasn't able to do it. I wanted to cheese it so bad, but it wouldn't let me. Oh my goodness. But either way though, we still actually have a few arcane sand left over, and I have no real use for that, so we'll just throw it in here now and forget about it. I don't even need these fruits anymore either, because now that I have the flight, I'm just all well and good. Everything is all according to plan. So then with that, we also get a few other creative things like this here, which is a creative ME cell, which would allow me to hold in all of the mana that I could get, and it would be infinite amounts. So hey, infinite mana pool, infinite amounts of mana, infinite traversing of it. But the problem is that this is for AE2, and I use Refined Storage this series. So, yeah, that's unfortunate. We also got all of these things, and I have no idea what those do. But with these other things that we got right here, I do actually know what these do, because as a byproduct, I actually now no longer am going to need to power my Refined Storage system. Because with this thingy right here, I can now break all of these pipes and break that. Because now I can place this one here, and everything is now powered. I just need to go off and retrieve that one. Oh gosh, it's down there. Okay, never mind. I actually completely forgot that this thing was powering this as well, so I might as well just, you know, go ahead and put that back. And then this one is the one that would power the AE2 one, but I can't really do anything about that, and unfortunately, I can't actually take power out of these, so I don't have infinite power. And then lastly, we just have these things right here, which are creative element containers. So now I will be able to have infinite amounts of each of these things without any restrictions whatsoever, which will actually help me be able to get the all of the things where these things are connected. So now that we've gotten all of that, we just have this last final row in order to be able to get everything. Oh my goodness. Now, I will say something about this storm lens right here. These things go on top of these things that we have right over here, which is what gives these things mana. I don't really have a use for this, and I also don't even know what it does, because, yeah, I already have infinite mana, so this thing's kind of redundant, actually. So now that all of that is done, there's one last thing that I wanted to do before we end off the video. So if we go over here, it's going to get a little bit louder, yeah, because this whole thing is going on right here. With this reactor, this thing producing the steam is where I'm getting a whole buttload of power. It's giving me 199.92 kFE a tick, and that's actually really insane, and it's filling up my battery very nicely. However, I am slowly but surely losing the fuel it's going to need to take this, because one of the ingredients I have is incredibly inefficient in getting it, so it's not going to last me very, very long. So I'm going to want to find a way to basically make a better power source, so that way once that thing is, you know, gone kaput, it'll still be fine. And in case you're wondering, no, it not having fuel will not make it blow up. So I'm going to need to set some things up really quickly, and I will show you all something incredibly beautiful.
Later.
Alrighty, here we go. So I've got everything I'm going to need, and what we have here is these things called Elven Mana Flux Fields. And these things can generate a good bit of power, and I've made quite a few of them. Now, unfortunately, I can't actually break them, so I need to start lacing down the pipes now, so So I'm just going to build it along like so, and then I'm just gonna builder's wand it the rest of the way. Incredibly simple, no need to overcomplicate it, and yep, there we go. Okay, for some reason I thought it was gonna go all the way across. I don't know why I thought that, but then there we go. Now now it all goes from there. Now, I don't think I need to configure these. I could be wrong though, because if it isn't, then we'll see what happens. Actually, I should probably definitely check that first. I don't honestly know, so I guess then we can actually trial run this. So we just need to get rid of those things, and then we can go ahead and then place the sparks on these ones right here, and then mana will go to those. Why are they sending it from these ones? These guys have dominance. Why are you guys going over here? Well, I mean, the power is going through, so I don't actually need to connect it, so that's one good thing, but let's do this one step at a time. Why are you guys getting rid of your mana? Who can really say? But I mean, hey, now I know that these things will all work out properly, so then I just need to place the rest of these things, and it's raining. Yeah, I just went ahead and made a rain shield. Okay, so now I can go ahead and try placing down these sparks again, and mana is still going from these ones. Yeah, honestly, I have no way to fix this. Honestly, I'm pretty sure it's just gonna all be going back and forth through all of this. I honestly have no choice in this matter. And that's actually gonna suck, because that means that this whole place is gonna be a light show. Oh boy, how this is gonna be fun. Okay, so then this should be... Yeah, that's the last one. Oh dear! That is a lot of light. Okay, cool. So then right underneath here, this should be where the power is going. And there we go, 402,000 FE, which is pretty much double what I was making with that thing over there. It's a pretty decent amount of power, and if I wanted to make myself 9 more of these, I can make the light show even worse. Honestly, I probably will do that in between episodes, but yeah, that is honestly just a crazy amount of power. And I still have no idea what the heck is going on with these things. Like, it's like it's in a perpetual position of gaining and losing mana. And I have no idea why it's doing that. Definitely gonna have to figure that out some point in between episodes, honestly. So then let's go down to the battery and let's see how this thing is doing. Oh, that is a crazy amount of input. I really like that. Okay, so the reason why we actually need so much power is for a very specific reason. So if we go over into the mechanism one, right down here, this thing is called a fusion reactor. It's going to need a 400 MFE burst to charge it for when we actually make it. That's a crazy amount of power. So I figured we might as well get started now, but we definitely ain't going to be getting to that anytime soon. And then all that's left to do is for us to just mark off these and get these weird rune things. No idea what those do. And then with all that being said, don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out the last FTB Skies video. Bye-bye!